two scientific inventions which destroyed humanity silently. His inventions were initially hailed as great advances, but then they turned out to have a dark side. At first, no one was ready to believe that such great innovations would harm people to such an extent. It was so harmful that it took his own life. What were those inventions? And what effect did they have on the world? The whole story started in 1908, in Michigan, when a woman's car stopped in the middle of the street. A gentleman parked his car to help the poor lady, unaware that his help would end up taking his life. At that time, people used to rotate a handle to start their cars, and while trying to help the woman, the handle hit him hard on the jaw. The effect proved to be lethal, and later on, it was learnt that the man was a close friend of Henry Martin Leland, the then owner of the Cadillac Company. Henry decided to change the system of the car and make them start automatically. The man didn't know that his decision would end up giving birth to a scientist that would be known as the world's worst inventor. The Cadillac owner hired Charles Kettering, an inventor, engineer, businessman, and the holder of 186 patents, to make his car automatic. After 3 years of hard work, Charles finally achieved success, and in 1911, Cadillac 30 was introduced, which was the first crankless car. However, there was one problem: the car made a lot of noise, and it was so unbearable that people had to cover their ears. Therefore, the inventor of the electric starter asked one of his employees, 27-year-old Thomas Midgley, to find a petrol additive that would make car engines run more smoothly. The man set to work, and after doing a lot of research for years, in the early 1920s, he eventually came up with a solution. He added tetraethyllead to gasoline to resolve the problem of engine knocking. That is when fuel burns unevenly in the engine cylinders of an automobile, causing noise and potential damage to the engine cylinder walls and pistons. This invention was no less than a miracle, and it was decided to produce the fuel on a mass level. However, this was the beginning of the end. A power plant was set up for production, and after a while, workers began to fall ill and ultimately passed away. It became national news, and it was speculated that the lead in the fuel was the reason behind these unfortunate incidents. Lead is a toxic chemical, and ethyl gasoline advertisements irresponsibly encouraged people to fill up their tanks with poisonous lead gasoline. Despite the hazardous effects of lead, such as insanity, hallucinations, depression, and more, the production of the fuel went on as it solved a huge problem. A research was conducted where it was proven that the substance did have a negative effect on people's IQ, nervous system, and other health issues. They also found a relationship between lead and an increase in unlawful activities across the world. After this study, New York, Washington, and Philadelphia banned the sale of lead. The U.S. Clean Air Act banned the sale of leaded gasoline effective January 1, 1996, beginning a phase-down that ended in a complete phase-out by 1999. This was Midgley's first innovation that took people's lives, increased felony, had a lethal effect on health, and damaged the human system. But there was still more damage to be done. Thomas was again approached to make a chemical for a refrigerator that is neither flammable nor toxic. Reportedly, within 3 days, the inventor found dichlorodifluoromethane, which could be used as a refrigerant gas. This was quickly commercially manufactured as Freon 12 by Kinetic Chemicals, where he was the director. To demonstrate the CFC gas was safe, he inhaled a large amount of the gas and blew out a candle flame to show it was non-toxic and non-flammable, therefore, safe. Midgley was again hailed as a hero, Edwards writes, being awarded the prestigious Priestley Medal in 1941 and appointed president of the American Chemical Society. Later, it was learnt that this so-called safe chemical actually contributed to the depletion of the ozone layer. The chlorofluorocarbons, CFCs, released by aerosols and damaged fridges caused serious and irreparable damage to the ozone layer. Ozone is the region of the upper atmosphere that protects life on the planet from UV radiation and other forms of radiation that can significantly harm most living things. To the present day, we are still suffering the consequences of Thomas Midgley's fatal inventions. As per sources, the scientist, who originally trained as an engineer, held a total of 117 patents, many of which didn't execute anybody. However, one of his inventions, in the end, did have a personal impact on Midgley. Thomas Midgley contracted poliomyelitis, commonly simply called polio, which left him immobilized. The man then invented a pulley system to help himself get out of bed without any help. Unfortunately, the device led to his demise when it entangled itself around his neck. It is safe to say that Thomas Midgley Jr. has contributed to damaging the world more than any other human being up to this date. No wonder he is globally regarded as one of the worst inventors, who created two of the most destructive compounds in American history.